A boat in the dark. The oars were audible before the boat came into view, this despite a noisy wind that coarsened the waters of the bay. It was very late on a black night. The rain, according to one account, fell in torrents, and the wind howled, weird-like and drearily. In recent weeks the weather had been erratic, seductively vernal one day, bone-rackingly cold the next. One morning there was snow. For a week a strong gale had scoured the coast. The 4 enslaved men rowing the boat made steady progress despite the wind and chop, and hauled their cargo, 3 white Confederate officers, with seeming ease. They covered the distance from Charleston to the fortress in about 45 minutes. Until recently, a big lantern incorporating the latest in Fresnel lenses had capped the fort's lighthouse, but in preparing for war, Army engineers had moved it. Now, the lantern stood elevated on trestles at the center of the enclosed grounds, the parade, where it lit the interior faces of the surrounding 50-foot walls and the rumps of giant cannon facing out through ground-level casements. From afar, at night, in the mist, the light transformed the fortress into an immense cauldron steaming with pale smoke. The boat reached its wharf at 12:45 a.m., Friday, April 12th, 1861, destined to be the single most consequential day in American history. Over the last 113 days, the fort's commander, Major Robert Anderson, and his garrison of U.S. Army regulars, along with a cadre of men under Captain John G. Foster of the Army Corps of Engineers, had transformed it from a cluttered relic into an edifice of death and destruction. It was still drastically undermanned. Designed to be staffed by 650 soldiers, it now had only 75, including officers, enlisted men, engineers, and members of the regimental band. But its guns were ready, nested within and atop its walls. Also, 5 large cannon had been mounted on makeshift platforms in the parade and pointed skyward to serve as mortars, these capable of throwing explosive shells into Charleston itself. In those 113 days, this fortress, named for Thomas Sumter, a Revolutionary War hero, had become a profoundly dangerous place to invade and could have resisted attack quite possibly forever, but for one fatal flaw. It was staffed by men, and men had to eat. The food supply, cut off by Confederate authorities, had dwindled to nearly nothing. Anderson was 55 years old, with a wife, Eliza, known universally as Eba, 3 daughters, and a 1-year-old son also named Robert. Anderson was clean-shaven, rare for the time, and this helped impart to his face a pleasant openness, very unlike the hollow, axe-handle aspect of his Confederate opponent across the bay, his friend and former pupil, General P.G.T. Beauregard, who had taken command of all South Carolina military activities. Their relationship was courteous and cordial, almost warm, despite Beauregard's obvious willingness to kill Anderson and all his men if it meant furthering the cause of Southern independence. Anderson adored his family and mourned the separation from them that was so often required by the Army. Thanks to income from Eba's family, they lived a life they could not have afforded on his salary alone. They owned a house on West 9th Street in New York, but with Anderson's rising notoriety, Eba and the children moved into the nearby Brevoort House Hotel, a luxurious 5-story structure on Fifth Avenue. Their daughters went to boarding school in New Jersey, a measure meant apparently to ease the burden of child-rearing for Eba, who suffered from an indeterminate chronic illness, which Anderson in one letter described as her long-continued indisposition. Eba's condition made Anderson all the more attentive to her. "What would I not give to know that you passed a comfortable night and that you feel much better this morning," he wrote on one occasion. He was prone to loving endearments. "I do not know what I should do without you, my precious pet, or simply my precious or my own dear little wife."